Hello, I'm Shep Hyken, and here's what's coming up next on this episode of Be Amazing or Go Home. Keeping it simple. A simple experience is a convenient experience. The relentless pursuit of greatness. Dr. Jason Selk drops by to share how to mentally prepare yourself in order to achieve peak performance and outperform your competition. Hanging with Mr. Soccer, Bill McDermott, has seen some of the most amazing people in the world at their craft, and he shares their secret on how to make it work for you. And doing the right thing. An amazing quote from Mark Twain shows you why doing the right thing is a habit worth mastering. So, are you ready to be amazing? Stay tuned for all of this and more coming up next on Be Amazing or Go Home. Hello, I'm Shep Hyken, and this is Be Amazing or Go Home, the show dedicated to take you from average to amazing. And we begin with a statistic that truly showcases the importance of convenience. Siegel and Gale conducted 8 years of research and interviewed more than 15,000 customers in 9 different countries to determine which brands deliver a simpler, more convenient experience. Take a look at the top 10 companies in Siegel and Gale's World's Simplest Brands report. The top brands deliver a simple experience that is clear, easy to use, and is intuitive. They've eliminated friction. And if you invested in these 10 companies over the past 10 years, you would have outperformed the average of the major stock market indexes by a whopping 679%. You would have returned a grand total of 830%. That's a staggering number. Compare that to the Dow, which would have increased your portfolio by 184%, and the S&P at 207%. That's a huge difference, proving that simplicity pays. And take a look at the top 10 brands from surveying customers in just the U.S. No surprise who you see the winners are there. Another way of saying it is that these brands are convenient. Simplicity is simply another form of convenience. In my book, The Convenience Revolution, I outlined 6 convenience principles. The first of which is simply to reduce friction. Companies like Lyft, Amazon, and Netflix have made it part of their entire value proposition. Reducing friction is just another way of saying, just be easy and simple. 55% of people are willing to pay more for a simpler experience. 64% of people are likely to recommend the brand that delivers a simple experience. The companies that fail to provide simple experiences leave an estimated share of $98 billion on the table. So think about this. What friction can you eliminate? What do you love about Netflix, Amazon, Google, and the other winners you've done business with that you might be able to incorporate into your organization? It's important to realize that your customers aren't just comparing you to your direct competition anymore. You're now being compared to the companies that provide the easiest and most convenient experience. You're compared to the best service the customer has ever received from anyone in any company. The bar is raised. It's time to be easy, simple, and convenient, or risk losing business to your competitors. Dr. Jason Selk is considered one of the top performance coaches in the country. From well-known professional and Olympic athletes to Fortune 500 executives and organizations, Jason trains individuals and teams to develop the mental toughness necessary for high-level success. Through a relentless pursuit of greatness, Jason helps individuals and organizations achieve peak performance and outperform their competition. And here joining me today in the studio is Dr. Jason Selk. Hello, my friend.
Good to see you, Shep.
It's good to see you, and I have your new book here, but just, for credibility, I've mentioned athletes and great companies, and give us a little background on yourself. You're allowed to brag here. I'm going to push you. If you don't, I'm going to push you even harder.
Well, I have had some success in my career. 2006 is really where things took off for me. I was the director of sports psychology for the St. Louis Cardinals. My first year with the team, we won a World Series.
There you go. I was thinking, what happened that year?
We won a World Series, and then I was with the team for 6 years. My last year with the team, we won another World Series.
Well, giddy up.
Yeah. And since then, I mean, I've had the great fortune of having 4 best-selling books. I got another one coming out in another year, but I've moved in the last couple of years, since leaving the Cardinals, really more into the business world, and have had the great pleasure to work with numerous Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, individuals, and executives, and get to know super people just like yourself.
Well, thanks. Well,
it's been a nice ride.
And I would imagine some of those executives can benefit. I mean, I know some of your material because I've read your books. And one of my favorite books, The Executive
Executive Toughness,
a phenomenal book. And what's the new book coming out? Can you tell us yet?
Yeah, so this one came out last year,
Organize Your Team Today.
It's not my favorite title, but trust me, Bloomberg, let's trust Bloomberg. They ranked it top 10 leadership book of 2018. It is really concise and chock full of how to get control of your mind and your performance.
So it's not like organize your desk.
No,
organize your time.
No, and again, my last book, Organize Tomorrow Today, did so well. They wanted to have a follow-up book, and of course, kind of chose a title to represent that. But the content inside has absolutely nothing to do with the title. So please don't let the title scare you away.
So give us a nugget out of this book that's going to make me want to go, okay, I've got to read this right now.
Well, and I wrote it with my very good friend Tom Bartow, whom you actually know.
Yes.
But
I met Tom Bartow when I had hair. Actually, I met Tom Bartow when I was in college. He was one of my teachers in a PE course way a long time ago.
For the viewers who don't know Tom, Tom's one of the top business coaches in the country and probably in the world. He specializes in financial services, and his best friend was John Wooden. So he is just a wealth of knowledge and resource. But anyway, if I had to give you a nugget from the book, and this is stuff I talk about all the time with clients, is the importance of learning how to control your mind. If you don't know first that you're able to do that, you're really at a disadvantage. And then if you know how to do it, and then to be able to execute on that, that really puts you in a position where you, moving forward, will be able to control your scoreboard, no matter what your scoreboard is, whether it be with an athlete I'm working with or a person in the business world. Controlling the mind will ultimately lead to controlling the scoreboard.
Right, so you recognize you have the power. That's the first step.
And it's so important, and most people don't understand.
Is it easy to recognize that?
I don't think it is, and I'll tell you why. So usually when I talk about the mind and how the mind affects performance, I want people to understand 4 fundamentals. Number 1, something called PCT, problem-centric thought. The brain is built in a way, all of us, where biologically it's totally normal for us to focus on problems. Now, I'll give you an example. You'll do 100 things right in a given day, 1 thing less than perfect. When you get in your car to go home,
that's what we dwell on.
And that's what normal people do. Unfortunately, it is a pure sign of mental weakness, but it's totally normal. So that's the first thing. Is remember, our brains are kind of built to work against us in this one. Second component, expectancy theory. That which you focus on will expand. All right, so whatever you allow your thoughts to focus or zero in on, you're going to expand that. And I'll tell you why. So if you're driving home and you're allowing yourself to zero in on that thing that wasn't perfect, your mistake, if you will, for the day, then what happens is you start to feel poorly about yourself, you beat yourself up, get in a bad mood, maybe you get home, you get in a fight with your wife, get in a fight with your
Yell
kids.
At the kids.
Don't exercise. It's very often people are turned into alcohol. You know, you put yourself in a position where the thoughts control the way you feel and then the way you behave.
Right, expectancy.
Okay, now the third fundamental, self-confidence. Doesn't matter if you're an athlete, a plumber, a physician, self-confidence is the number 1 variable for all of performance. All right, and if you think about those first 2, PCT and expectancy theory, it's normal to focus on the negative. The more we focus on the negative, the more negative we create. You're now putting yourself in a position to really damage self-confidence. And self-confidence, I'm going to say it again, it's the number 1 variable.
Right.
So we got to learn how to nourish our self-confidence. Most people have no idea how to do that. Right? And then the 4th fundamental is important to understand, neuroplasticity. Our brains, even though we're hardwired to focus on the negative, we're built to be PCT oriented. We can retrain our brains so that we can now focus on, instead of the thing we're doing wrong, the things we're doing right and the things we want to improve.
Wow, perfect. So those 4 steps can take us to a whole nother level, a whole way of thinking. This is what you teach great athletes. It's what you teach great corporate executives. And again, whether you're a plumber or a world-class athlete, it works. So we're just about out of time. I want you to give us a quick hint on what's coming up in that next book. I know my favorite concept is RSF. We have just a moment. That's relentless, solution-focused, and that's what that book is going to be about. And that is how, go ahead, I'll let you finish the sentence.
Okay, so if I was going to say 2 things that really give people right now a way to start working on, you know, those 4 fundamentals and putting your mind in the right direction in terms of control. Number 1, it would be learn to recognize what you're doing well. If you want to beat yourself up, that's your call. I think it's a bad idea, but first...
We already talked about that, PCT.
First, you must commit to, before you look at that thing you did poorly, identify at least 2 things you've done well. So that'd be the first thing.
And
what are you doing well?
Yep.
And finally, anytime you catch yourself in the face of adversity, ask this one question. What's one thing I can do right now that could make this better?
The relentless solution focus, the one thing.
Be relentless about it and do it. Get a solution on your board within 60 seconds. You'll start to change the performance in your life and your scoreboard.
Love it. That's Dr. Jason Selk. Thanks for being on the show.
Shep, thanks for having me.
Time now for the Amazing Act, brought to you by First Rule. And this technology is completely disrupting the way businesses get feedback from people who matter most. SurveyMonkey answers 20 million questions daily for organizations all over the world. Design and send professional surveys fast and with confidence. SurveyMonkey gives you access to more than 100 expert templates and over 2,500 questions approved by survey scientists, so you never have to wonder what to ask again. Plus, SurveyMonkey makes it easy for your users to take your surveys to get higher completion rates. Talk to the people that matter most, and that could be your customers, your employees, coworkers, target markets, and even event attendees. SurveyMonkey can find more ways to sample your audience and collect surveys via email, mobile, chat, web, social media, and much more. And maximize your data's potential through deeper data analysis. Getting answers to your questions is just the beginning. Once you get the feedback you need, SurveyMonkey helps you take action on that data so you can drive business forward. SurveyMonkey allows you to ask more, know more, and do more by capturing the real voices and opinions of those who matter most to you, and then make sense of all of the feedback. SurveyMonkey is truly an amazing app. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am excited about this guest, and I'm kind of being funny right now because this is the way he and I communicate. It's a wake up the kids, phone the neighbors in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Bill McDermott. Now, Bill is my friend. I actually, we figured it out that I had met him back in 1977 when I was young, skinny, and had a lot of hair. And Bill was having dinner at a restaurant called the Pasta House here in St. Louis. That started a friendship that has lasted decades.
And I, by the way, also had hair then.
Yes, you did.
1977.
But you played a lot of soccer and hit that ball in the head kind of knocks it all off.
Pretty much so, and any attempt to disguise that is long gone.
It's long gone. Well, Bill, I'm excited that you're here because when I thought who would be a fun guy to talk about, who to talk to, it would be you. And I'll tell you why. This is a perfect show. We just had Dr. Jason Selk on, and he talked about what you have to do to get mentally tough. And here's what I want to tell people about you. You are known as Mr. Soccer. Now, you have a regular business. You have McDermott Design, which is one of the greatest logo companies. And, I mean, Sal Bass has nothing on you.
Whoa, hold on. So go quite that far.
Right. And for those who don't know who Sal Bass was.
S-A-U-L-B-A-S-S.
I think the quote that you told me once is not a day goes by.
It's virtually impossible for a North American to go through a day without seeing a Sal Bass symbol, logo, artifact, or design.
That's right, because he did the big ones. But you've done the big ones, I think, and done some great brands. But so you've got this great business, but you also have something else that you're extremely passionate about, and that is soccer. As a matter of fact, you're known as Mr. Soccer. And in 1979, when ESPN televised the very first soccer game, who called the game?
I did, along with my partner, Kevin Slayton. It was a game at Washington University's Francis Field. The way that enters in the overall lexicon of soccer and sports is that it was the home of the 1904 Olympics.
Yes.
At Francis Field at Washington University.
That's pretty cool.
Flash way forward to September 1979, game at Francis Field at St. Louis University against UCLA, and that was the very first soccer game on ESPN. Suffice it to say, they have increased their inventory since
Yes,
then.
they have. And you're still calling games and
Yep.
doing commentary. As a matter of fact, you're in the Sports Hall of Fame. And so let's talk about, I know you've interviewed some amazing people like Pele and David Beckham, Bend It Like Beckham. I love that movie. Talk to us about the lessons that we can learn from some of these amazing athletes.
Well, first and foremostly, with reference to a person or player like Pele and David Beckham, a Brazilian and an Englishman, but respectively, what they all have in common and what they all want to do from a youth is to go forward in their career to represent their country in World Cups.
So it's not even just about being the best soccer player, it's represent their country. That's
represent
more
their country
important.
in a World Cup, positively.
And it's amazing. It's very unselfish. But what drives that mindset?
Representing their country, and in some cases, like smaller cases, like Diego Maradona for Argentina, who came from a very, very poor background playing for Argentina. This is the way that he brings his country to identify and create their nationalism on a world stage. You may not be able to compete with some of the larger powers in Europe and South America, but you can do so through your sport. And the sport, almost of every one of those people I've just mentioned, and every player around the world, their sport of choice is international soccer.
Wow. And so as I hear this, it's like you want to represent your country. That's even more than representing a team that you get paid for?
Believe me, they go hand in hand. Club and country is a constant theme for all international top players. Beckham with Manchester United, that's where he made his name. Then he went forward to world-class teams, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid. Pelé was with Santos, but then came over to the United States to play for the New York Cosmos in the then NASL, which was in the late 70s, early 80s, late 60s,
I remember.
early 80s.
And that's where I was really introduced to Pele.
That's what he started with, the New York Cosmos. And a lot of people,
movie.
A lot of people did not know Victory, by the way.
Yes.
A lot of people did not know at that particular time because they weren't followers of the international game that Pelé had indeed won World Cups, and he had done many things before going to play for the New York Cosmos.
All right, so what did Pelé teach you? What was the one thing you walk away and go, wow, that's brilliant?
Just by his grace and presence and what he had done at that particular time, starting to play for Brazil at 17 years of age, becoming a world-class player very young, winning World Cup titles for Brazil, but being inordinately humble.
A lot of humility.
Very much. And a goodly portion of that stems from the fact that he credited all his teammates around him, all of whom were magnificent players, but not of the stature of Pelé.
All right, so humility and recognizing that the team around you contributes to the importance and the wins that they have, which is great. Beckham. Bend it like Beckham. Good-looking Englishman.
Straight out of Central Casting.
Right.
Straight out of Central Casting. And the day I talked to him was at Soldier Field in Chicago. In connection, Real Madrid was playing the Los Galacticos with Zinedine Zidane, Roberto Carlos, Luis
What do you say?
Figo.
What do you say?
Roberto Carlos, Zinedine Zidane, Raul Figo. But Beckham was right with him, didn't lose a step. And you do what they called a mixed zone. So you just start firing questions at players as they walk out of training to head to the team bus to go back to the hotel. They stop and talk to you if you want. For some reason, he stopped and talked to me because I was talking to him about the possibility of him, when he was finished with his international career, coming to the United States, which he did in MLS with the Los Angeles Galaxy, and he more or less made it okay for other top international players to come play in the United States for MLS
So he
teams.
opened the doors.
Positively.
All right. Is there one nugget of wisdom he may have shared with you in that interview that we can all learn from?
Yes, trying to get England back on the World Cup stage.
Yeah.
That's exactly what. And continuing with our theme
which is
of top international players, represent your country, get a World Cup title for England. They've only won, the inventors of the sport, if you will, have only won one World Cup title in 1966. They made it to the semifinals this past World Cup in Russia, which was a victory in and of itself.
Wow. So we have a moment, and I want to wrap up here, but you have another passion, and that is you're a very charitable guy. I see you giving, I see you emceeing auctions with a voice like that and a wit like that. You can see where you'd be phenomenal on stage. But there's a passion and a charity that's near and dear to your heart. Do you want to share with us what that is?
Indeed there is, Shep, but it's been going on for 10 years. One of our twins, Mary, passed away on December 21st, 2008. And ever since then, we have been raising funds for a local charity in the St. Louis area, SSM Health, Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, during which we are attempting to do two things. Honor her memory at the hospital by naming the cardiac catheterization suite in her honor, and secondly, continue to raise funds for other children who might be less fortunate to continue the quality, state-of-the-art health care at Cardinal Glennon.
A lot of passions. A family man, a charitable man, and a guy that just loves soccer. Mr. Soccer, Bill McDermott,
Shep,
thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Thanks. Well, it's time to hear from you and time to Ask Shep. You can find me just about anywhere on social media, and don't forget to use the hashtag AskShep. Let's begin. Jean Harper is a retired high school teacher, and she says, I'm noticing a lot of industries starting rewards for their customers. What do you think the purpose is of a good loyalty program? Well, first, I need to say there's a difference between a rewards program and a loyalty program. Rewards can cause repeat business, but don't always create true loyalty. Now, don't confuse the momentum that points, miles, or a free sandwich on the 10th visit will be against true loyalty. If you take away the perks and the reward, will the customer remain loyal? True loyalty is actually an emotional connection a customer has with a company. Now, that said, a program that creates repeat business isn't bad either. So, what can you give your customers that would incent them to do business with you again, both in the form of rewards and an amazing customer experience? The combination of the two is powerful. Now, let's hear from Jack Madigan, who owns a bookstore in a small town, and he asks, in a climate where customers are increasingly reliant on Amazon and online shopping, how do brick and mortar brands differentiate themselves with customer service? Well, a small business going up against a major online or big box store competitor, yes, it's a challenge. So here's the strategy. It's pretty simple when you think about it. Do local well. You know your community better than any national or international competitor. Take advantage of that. Deliver a personalized level of service to the locals who shop in your bookstore. Cater to local authors. Do customer events. There are plenty of ways that you can make your local presence stand out. It's all part of the customer experience. And of course, back it all up with good old-fashioned customer service. And finally, Katie Farrell just graduated from college and is hunting for her first job. And she asked, what is the best advice you have for a new to the full-time workplace employee to succeed in customer service? Well, if you're just graduating and you're hunting for a job, the focus, at least as it applies to customer service, should be on your people skills. What past employment experience do you have that can make you stand out? Did you work in retail or in a restaurant? Play off anything that has you working with people. Be ready to answer questions about difficult situations that you've been in with customers and how you handled them. Show some experience and some common sense wisdom about how to treat others. Someone who wants to work in customer service usually has a desire to work and interact with people. So, are you ready to be amazing? Connect with me on any one of our social channels, and don't forget to use that hashtag AskShep to ask your question or share your amazing story. Time now for the amazing quote brought to you by First Rule, and it comes from legendary author Mark Twain. Always do right. This will gratify some people and astonish the rest. Well, when it comes to taking care of customers, sometimes people go a little further than expected. When asked why, they often say, it was just the right thing to do. There's no incentive other than the desire to care for someone else. In a sense, that's what customer service is all about. While we may be paid to do a job, sometimes doing something that is not required or expected is what the next level of good customer service and experience is all about. I received a note from M.N. Rao, one of the subscribers to my Shepherd letter, which is my weekly newsletter. He shared a story that perfectly makes this point. On a recent trip to Dubai, Mr. Rao took a taxi to his client's office. About an hour later, he realized he left his phone in the taxi. He didn't have the driver's information, so he borrowed a colleague's phone to call his lost phone and hope that the driver would answer. And sure enough, he did. Mr. Rao explained what had happened, and an hour later, the driver made his way back to the hotel where he had picked up Mr. Rao earlier that day, and the driver dropped off the phone at the front desk. Now, he didn't ask for any money, even though he had to take time out of his day to return to the hotel. He didn't leave a phone number or any other contact information. He just wanted to take care of his customer. He did it simply because, in his mind, it was just the right thing to do. That's what customer-focused people do. They do the right thing. They do it because helping a customer is what they like to do. It makes them feel good. It's a mindset, and practicing it turns into a habit. Doing the right thing makes you feel good. Try it. Make it a habit. It's a habit worth mastering. Well, that wraps up this edition of Be Amazing or Go Home. Remember, you can find me everywhere on social media, and be sure to use the hashtag AskShep to ask your question or share your amazing story. Thanks for tuning in. This is Shep Hyken, reminding you to always be amazing.